Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Halloween. Doesn't matter whether you're seeing this after Halloween. It's very magical. A lot of things going on. And we're going to look at that from a psychological standpoint with an amazing psychologist. And she's got a great book. I want to show it to you right here. Love Yourself, Love Your Life. We're going to grab something from the book that's kind of mystical, kind of magical. Anne Creekmore is back with us. Hi, Anne. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Doing well. How are you?
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. It'll be a little spooky today.
Yeah, especially delving into chapter 5 of your book, which is called Words, Your Magical Mystical Wand. I study this. I'm not even kidding. In terms of manifestation, the power of intention, and it's all about our words, what we say to ourselves, even internally, not even just verbally, just things that we think can really dictate our future. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. Yeah, we create for our verb, and through our words. Because what we say will affect how we feel, what we're saying to ourselves, and then how we feel affects how we behave. And then how we behave, of course, determines our outcomes in the life situations. So our internal thoughts are kind of like prayers, you're putting them out and creating with them.
Yeah. Is it even possible? Now, I'm going to go hypothetical here, but if somebody walks around and they're saying things like, something's wrong with me. I know. I mean, I'm feeling something here, whatever. I just know it's, and you go around for years complaining about it. Is it possible that your body will hear you and actually make something wrong?
Absolutely. I mean, there's studies to show that, for example, things even like cancer, there's been like depression or grief, like saying stuck at an anger phase of loss of pathological or aborted grief, not getting it out, but saying angry, that has, occurs before getting cancer, like maybe a year and a half or so before. There's that kind of tendency to hold it in. And there have been a lot of other studies showing that certain, types of thoughts can create different physical things, like, just believing you're going to get sick, or, just being really stressed out and stressing yourself out can affect your immune system, for example, kind of that mind-body interaction.
There is a personal awakening that you went through that you talk about in your book, and it really kind of illustrates the power of thoughts. And this is something that began being in church or class.
Yes.
Tell us.
Well, it's been a long time since I read my book, so I'm trying to remember which part you're referring to.
You were studying Louise Hay. You Can Heal Your Life, and you were taking a class in church, it says here. And in the book, she describes the underlying cause or the mental pattern of colds as mental confusion, small hurts. Basically how kind of what we were just talking about, where you said that, I caught a cold. How do you actually catch a cold? Just the way we verbalize things.
Exactly. I know what you're talking about now. Yes. I was taking a class, and we were focusing on how our words and our thoughts and our prayers create our lives. And so we had to kind of pick something to manifest kind of the law of attraction. And what I had chosen was just, I had young kids, so I was, always catching colds because they got colds and building their immunity. So parents catch their colds. So I thought, well, I'll work on that. And according to Louise Hay, who really helped the community that was getting HIV, they do very well, right? They have medicine and everything. She worked a lot with the AIDS epidemic. And thoughts that were negative that created that kind of condition. And so we picked one from that. And I picked colds because that's what bothered me, my immune system. And so basically, I had this experience of just having to say that instead of saying I was all stressed out, that my mind was relaxed and at peace and harmony, and, just a regular affirmation or mantra. And you do it every time that you would have a contrary thought. You thought stop it, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, kind of say, no, I'm not going there. And then you put in like an opposite, an affirmation, self-enhancing one, like you were saying, not a victim kind of thing. And so every time that I had a client walk in my office and she's sitting there with her paper bag, her pharmacy bag, and she's coughing and coughing, and she goes, yeah, I just came from the doctor. I just picked up my antibiotic. I've got like, strep and upper respiratory. I forget all the stuff. I'm like going, oh, great. So I said, well, I'm going to try this. And so every time she coughed, it was a sign to me, like to counter my, oh no, I'm going to catch it. Oh no, I got coughed on, or whatever it is. And I would say, and she has it spelled out better than I can say it and remember it now. It's been a long time. The Louise Hay sponsoring thought was, like, my mind's at peace and relaxed. My life is harmonious, and just kind of put myself in a place of peace every time she coughed. And I never got anything. And which is a miracle for me, because I would have picked up things pretty easily. And yet I had someone who was actively contagious sitting there coughing on me for an hour, and not, sitting right across from them, and I never got it. So there's kind of a demonstration of how, if we talk to ourselves in a positive way, we get to that center that we can create the good. We're contacting our inner higher power, our sacred space, our ability to co-create our lives, that we can do it. And it was, it was cool.
So some things I want to point out here, and that is, when you heard her coughing, many of us would be concerned, like, I don't want to catch that.
Exactly.
But instead of saying to yourself, or even out loud, I am not going to catch a cold or get sick.
Exactly.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You turned it into, I am at peace, I am safe, everything is okay. Something along those lines.
Exactly.
But what you did, though, in not saying, I am not going to get sick, I am not going to get sick, subconsciously, if you were to do that, your subconscious doesn't know words. It just hears certain things. So I am not going to get sick. It hears get sick.
Correct.
And that's what it just doesn't know the difference. So it could open your immune system up to allow that to come in, because it thinks, your subconscious wants to support you, make you happy. It thinks that's what you want. It doesn't know good from bad. But to deflect that, you just turned it into, I am safe, I am at peace, everything is okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love
very
that.
Good. Yeah. And that's wonderful that you got that and described that, because that's the truth of it. You can't say, I'm not going to do this. What you do is you are connecting to that, I'm okay, the higher power, inner, your kind of sacred space within, and claiming you're good. All you're doing is just remembering yourself, that you are good, that you have good in your life, and that you deserve good, and just getting to that place and then claiming whatever it is, and the positive that you have. I'm at peace and harmony and relaxed, all is well with me. And then you just kind of let it go. And then that's what gets created.
Yeah. And it's almost universal. Like, who doesn't want to feel safe, secure, and at peace? You could use that for anything. Like, you're in a challenging situation with a coworker, family member, and they're going at you. And if you just in your mind think, I am at peace, everything is fine here, I don't have to worry about anything, and just, it's almost like you let it roll off your shoulder. And again, the opposite is when you say, I'm not going to get sick. You're coming from a place of negativity. The word not is negative.
Exactly.
Right away, you're kind of turning your spiritual car down the negative road, where, why you want to go that way? Go another way. Exactly.
That's a really good point.
Interesting. Yeah, and the power of the word is more powerful than we really think, isn't it?
It really is. And I think that's one of the things that, the heart of religions really brings is pretty much all the religions share certain things. And one of them is the power of words, that our words, and that's the idea of, say, called prayers, and the idea that our words are creating. And so it's something you can, that just covers, it's kind of universal, like
Hmm.
you said.
What else? While we're talking about this now, the intentions that we set, the things that we say, the language that we tell ourselves. Is there anything else that we can look at, with all of this? Any of your
Well,
thoughts to share?
well, I don't know. I mean, you can extend it to, like kind of your thoughts affect your environment too. It's not just affecting your body and your inner peace, but I mean, according to like the quantum physics kinds of things, the waves to particles kinds of things, that, we're affecting matter all around us with our thoughts. I think I might have mentioned this book once before, The Field by Lynn McTaggart. She was a journalist who did a lot of and she did a book that had different chapters on different topics, but they were all showing the power of intention. And she eventually wrote another book I called The Intention Experiment, getting people in to actually demonstrate it, kind of like that we did at the church thing, And but one of the experiments that she talked about, which is really interesting, is how our it was a little experiment where they had these machines, little robots on the floor that were, going down little paths, whatever, turned them on, they just went around the room, right? Well, they measured their paths exactly. Then they took a little like basket of baby chicks, newborn baby chicks. And of course, newborn baby chicks or animals are going to try to imprint on whatever is the first thing that they see, their mother, they think, who's in the room,
Hmm.
and draw that, because that's their life, their love, their comfort. So they took the baby chicks, put in a corner of the room, and guess what happened? The little robots, little machines, when they measured their, what they had done, they gravitated right towards the baby chicks, and was a statistically significant difference between the path of the robot little machines when no one was in the room to when these little chicks that were sending, the message, mommy, come to me and take care of me, the energy, the passion, and that isn't even a word. That was just their feeling, their passion. I need to, connect, imprinting on the machine mommy, and
Wow.
it drew it right to them. So you have to think that when we do this, that we're also affecting the particles or the waves in other people and in our environment by what we are saying, what we're thinking, and just basically our feeling that we're creating. Whatever our passion is, we're going to generate that in others and in our environment.
Hmm.
So if we want a peaceful environment, we get to our inner peace, and then we help create it in our environment.
It's as if we're sending out, we're transmitting, emitting things
Exactly.
around us. And that
Exactly.
can, what's a word? Before the word comes out of your mouth, it's already up here. So you've already started the process of the intent of whatever you're going to say.
Right.
Um, just like your words, like your chapter 5 says, words, your magical mystical wand, they can also be a weapon as well.
Right. It's all how you use them. So it's very good before you say things or do things to just kind of connect to that sense of good. And also maybe ask yourself before you talk, will this bring peace? Is this going to enhance love and harmony?
That's a great way to look at it. Somebody told me, and I'm not going to remember exactly what it was phrased, but she said, before you send an email, think, is it kind? Is it necessary? And there was one other component, maybe, is it loving? Whatever it is, but make sure it passes that test before you say, even a text, make sure
Exactly.
it's, instead of just blah, 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 hit send, you know,
Right.
there's a rash reason that you might be sending it, but think of it before you do.
Right, exactly. And it can really, I can give you another example that you were kind of asking me thoughts on this. You can send the vibe of love before you communicate with someone. You kind of can open up your, we call it your crown chakra. You know, you're connected to gooder, love, or lighter, the openness to the, and then kind of let that good love come into your heart, and then open up your heart chakra, if you will, and send love to whoever you're going to be speaking to, and just send them a compliment in your mind. It's just, it's kind of more of a telepathic, you know, if you will, thing. I mean, just sending it out in an energy, like the little chicks were sending their passion, mommy, come here, they're, you know, and you just send the love and give them a compliment, and then ask for something back. And you know, like sending the vibe of love, and then you're asking for love back in some, you know, concrete form. This is something else that we kind of worked on as well. And I should do a demonstration. I had, I think I might have said this before. I'm not sure. You can stop me if I did. But I had someone looking at my phone because the phone wasn't working. And she was spending an hour. You know, couldn't find what was wrong because I had no phone, and, you know, landline phone back in the day. And so I just said, wait a minute, you know, let me just send some love to this, you know, let open up, send love to her, that she's got all this wisdom going for her. You know, she's a great, you know, phone worker person, you know, a technician, and she's going to get it. She's got it. She's good at it. And then she's so nice that she's going to let me have this free, because this was a very frustrating experience. And, you know, for an hour waiting and learning. And so then it turned out, it was a little headset was attached to one of the phones. It was just, you know, glitching the whole system. And she pulled it off. It was totally fine. No big deal. And she turned around to me and she said, it was just this little headset. This is, you know, this is ridiculous. And it's like, it took me so long, and you're going to get charged a really high fee if I send this in. So I'm just not sending it in at all. You know, so I got it for free. And it was just like that. I said to myself, well, you know, I'm supposed to be doing this for my church class. I'm supposed to be putting out the, you know, the word. And I said, at this good time, I did it. And then sure enough. And so you never know. A part of the point is that when you send this vibe of love and this enhancement in an emotional, you know, prayerful way, I guess, if you will, thought way, it really can affect other people. It depends also how open they are as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If they're, you know, if they're at that place, and you never can tell, you might think somebody is mean or a problem, and it never hurts to still send them the vibe of love and then ask for love back, because you'd be surprised who can receive that, you know, and so it's just a good little tool.
Yeah. Well, you know, for anybody that thinks, come on, really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really, because look at it this way. If you think what we're talking about is just kind of woo-woo and crazy.
Yeah, it's Halloween.
Well, but those are the same people that say, I'm sending prayers your way, or positive vibes for good outcome on the test that you're taking, or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
You're sending positive energy.
You are, exactly. And it's always a good thing. Yes.
So since it is Halloween, interesting chapter in your book we're going to delve into just a moment. Chapter 10, called Shine the Light. Mm-hmm. And this is essentially about energy, orbs, if you will. But before we even go on, explain for everybody, if you could, and what is an orb?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'll probably have to go ask Alexa. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, you know, some people think of orbs as little angels or little spiritual entities, or what is your definition and knowledge of it?
It's some dispersion of energy that shows up in round circles in photographs. And you have a picture. I don't know if it's going, we can actually see it. You know, if you've ever taken a picture and seen these round things, almost looks like bubbles floating. I'm gonna say this. I've seen them before, and I was like, angle of the camera, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Year and a half ago, my friend asks me to go to a cacao ceremony, which is basically a meditation using chocolate from the tropical rainforest in its purest form, full of
Right.
magnesium, highest level of magnesium anywhere
Yeah,
on the
good
planet.
for you. Hmm.
So I go, I've never done anything like this. And after, the ceremony starts, we have the cacao chocolate. Supposed to have euphoric properties. It really just kind of makes you feel calm. We
Hmm.
go into this meditation and this breathing exercise. When it was done, it's about 15, 20 minutes, about 15 people in the room. Everybody in the room was crying.
Oh, wow.
And we were told
Mm.
to focus on things that we need to work on, things that are troubling us. I'm not even kidding. It's like people, myself, like bawling, like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
That's great, though. It's probably getting a lot of grief, a lot of trauma out, healing. Hmm.
Yes. But here's the thing. While it was taking place, one of the other facilitators, if you will, took a picture
Hmm. Oh,
and
full
showed
of orbs, right?
above all of us, we're laying down on mats.
Hmm.
There's orbs floating above our heads and above our bodies.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
So they had nothing to prove. They weren't trying to sell anything or convince us of anything. These are just very holistic people.
Exactly.
There were no filters being used, nothing
It's
like that. In
right.
fact, other people took pictures and compared, and they also had the same thing. So that was I've heard about orbs. I've seen those
Right.
round things show up in pictures before over the years, and I just write it off. The angle of the light, the lens, the prism, blah blah. After seeing this and knowing what was going on in that room, that was my game changer. The orbs were something. There's no doubt about it in my
Exactly.
mind.
There's definitely an energy that's, being picked up on. And it's
That's what
got
I'm saying.
positive energy. It was a time of love, and then they're there. So,
Yeah,
right. That is so cool.
it was
Nice.
time of healing. Yeah, it's funny that you do
Right.
have it in your book. Obviously, you've seen it and experienced it before too.
Right. Right. We were on like a retreat, and I mentioned in the book, but the picture doesn't show it. But there was one. We went to kind of some sacred site or something, and then one of the ladies there had put down some, just some little trinkets or things, that flowers, to kind of be commemorating the area. And so when she was in the picture, which of course I didn't put anybody in a picture because, I don't want to violate any confidentiality or whatever. But she had her arms up in a V, like in a big V, and she had a giant beach ball or orb in her hands. So that picture is just a little minute, representation. And I do describe it in the book that the orb she got was huge, and the rest were like
Wow.
that. I know, it was very interesting.
It sounds crazy, but if I didn't experience it like you did in the way that we did,
Exactly.
I wouldn't buy into it. And I'm kind of techie, kind of geeky, kind of skeptical. I all the pieces were there. And I
I,
know that people weren't trying to do it for any reason, let me just put these
no, I
round
mean, it
circles.
just is there. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like
And
somebody was clicking, the orb filter and let's like fool these people. There was no reason for that. Uh,
right.
and your book never stops to amaze me. There's always great stuff in there and very relatable stuff. The book is called Love Yourself, Love Your Life. We can find it on Amazon. If we want to find you, and by the way, AP Filosa is the pen name that you wrote the book in, your
Right. My
maiden
maiden
name.
name
Yeah,
and my practice name is
sure.
Creekmore. Yeah.
How do we find you if somebody wants to even speak with you about psychology or maybe some therapy or anything like that, or just have questions? Even find an easier way to find the book as well on your website. How do we find you?
Sure. Well, my practice website is Psychologist in Virginia, spelled out with a plural, psychologistinvirginia.com, which
Hmm.
should have most of my information right on it. But I had run a nonprofit for a while, and I let that go during, COVID. But I've got another website that you can find my books and my hypnosis CDs and different things. And that's the Love Your Life Healing Center.com. So if you want to look on there, you can look on there as well. And then the email for that one's going to be Love Your Life at Outlook. So all that together, you'll find me, and I'll be happy to help, because I mean, I'm really interested in helping even more internationally than I've been able to. I am a psychologist, licensed clinical psychologist in Virginia, and so that is where I practice. But it's not like I can't be open to helping and consulting or coaching or hypnosis too. Even I think
Sure.
So I'm available.
Yeah, we didn't even hit the hypnosis thing, although we skimmed the subconscious a little earlier.
Yes.
In talking about the language that we use with ourselves.
That's the too. Yeah, renewing your mind and the positive.
Yeah. You run deep, but you make it fun.
You do too, Steve.
Yeah, and that's evident, in your book. Talking about orbs. Maybe that's something that people wonder about.
Yeah.
Or even the power of words and our intentions and what we tell ourselves. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Look forward next time we get together.
Me too.
Thanks.
Take care. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.